Hey. I'm going to read off my script because I talk too much, as you can tell. And I am also menopausal, and I cry a lot. So I am just going to preemptively say that if I cry, it's not because I'm really sad. It's because my hormones are sad. My name is Anitra Bostock, and I'm the executive director at Maison Elizabeth House. And I'm very happy to be here alongside two incredible women who are actually not here, who are going to raise their hands. I've got Nadine Collins from Women on the Rise, rock star. And Amanda Murphy from O3, who is probably still on the bus. She's coming. She's signing in. Hi, Amanda. All right. I am truly excited to be here with so many incredible women. This is one of my favorite events of the year because it brings together such a beautiful mix of people, our clients, staff, community partners, friends, and family, all coming together for a conversation that really matters. Je suis vraiment heureuse d'être ici aujourd'hui avec autant de femmes incroyables. C'est l'un de mes événements préférés de l'année parce que ça rassemble un si beau mélange de personnes, nos clients, nos équipes, nos partenaires communautaires, nos amis et nos familles, toutes réunies pour une discussion qui compte vraiment. Whether you are raising children, supporting families, working in community services, or simply trying to show up for the people you love, being a woman often means carrying a lot. Today is about more than conversation. It's about reminding ourselves that none of us are alone. So, before we begin, a little housekeeping. If you could take a moment and just put your phone on silent. And I know we all think that we've turned our phone on to silent, but I know one of you is going to have a ringing phone. Tina. Tina's on call. She's the only one who's allowed to have her phone ringing. All right. We have children. It's fine. I also want to say something really important, that some of the conversations today may touch on personal experiences or topics that make you feel emotional. Oh my God, it's awful. Hormones. Jesus, Murphy. If at any point you feel overwhelmed, hi. Because thank God I have a good sense of humor. If at any point you feel overwhelmed or need a moment, please know that this is a safe space. You are welcome to step out of the room, or you can speak with one of our educators who are here with us today. If I could get my educators to raise their hands. Look in the back, we got rock stars here. They're here if anyone needs any support. So now let me walk you through the morning and how it's going to unfold. We're going to begin with our keynote speaker, Laura Casala, who we are so grateful to have with us today. Laura is a global news anchor, radio host on Q92.5. And I know, I love it though. That's how old I am. Hence the menopause. And we are so lucky that you have taken time out of your schedule to come to be with us today. Following Laura's keynote, we're going to move directly into the panel discussion. And I'd like to take a moment to there are going to be some, actually, I'm going to let Laura do it. Never mind. Laura's going to be moderating the discussion, and we want this to really feel like it's a conversation, not just something that you're listening to. When the panel discussion concludes, I'll come back and do a little Q&A, depending on what time it is, because Laura's got to hop onto the radio at 11:30. So enough about me. Please join me in welcoming Laura Casala.
Thank you, Anitra. Thank you, everyone, for having me, for Maison Elizabeth House, for the invitation. I really appreciate it. I'm coming to all of you today as a woman, a wife, a professional, and a mother of two just really trying her best every single day. I'm not someone who has it all figured out, not by far. I'm not someone who has the perfect formula for parenting, for motherhood, for work-life balance. I don't even believe that exists. I'm just someone who, like many of you, wakes up every day and tries her best. To be honest, because today's about being open and being honest, some days I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. Other days, I'm not so sure. Because being a mom, a working mom in particular, and doing what you love is wonderful and it's very rewarding, but at the same time, it can be very demanding. My mornings at Global start very early, before the sun is up, before the house is awake, before the day for most of you has even begun. My early mornings are full of responsibility. I'm thinking about work, of course, and what I need to do, but I'm also thinking about my kids who are at home getting ready for school. I'm thinking about their day ahead. I'm thinking about everything that needs to be done. And sometimes all of this can feel heavy. Being a working mom often comes with making sacrifices. For me, here are a few examples. It means missing every morning school drop-off. It means carrying guilt because you were working on picture day and your daughter's hair fell flat because you did the waves the night before, and all the other girls had perfect hair and she made you hear all about it. Sometimes it means ending the day wondering if you did enough for your family, for your work, and for yourself, as we often come last in the equation as moms. There are days when I'm patient, I'm calm, and fully present with my kids, feeling like I have it all under control. And then there are days when I'm overwhelmed, where I'm stressed, where I'm running on very little sleep, days where my house is messy, days where I forgot to wash my daughter's soccer uniform and she makes me hear about it, days when I wish I'd handle a situation differently. But what motherhood has taught me is something very important. Perfection doesn't exist. What matters is being present. It's about showing love, and it's about trying your best. You feel like, as a first-time mom especially, that you have to have it all figured out immediately. Like you're supposed to know exactly what to do. Like everyone else has it together, and you're the only one who's lost. But I've come to realize that all of us are kind of a little lost in some ways. We're all trying to figure it out, trying to forge our path. Motherhood is about learning every single day. My kids are 10 and 6, and every day I'm learning patience and I'm learning resilience, and that's not always easy. Besides being a mom, being a woman often means carrying a lot on our shoulders. Anitra, you stole my line when you said it. Not only do we carry our children, but we also carry our families. We carry the struggles of those we love. We carry our work. We carry our dreams, and often all of this at the same time. When they say we're superheroes, boy, are we ever. But we're also human, and I think that's the part that we forget. I don't know if any of you watched the Oscars on Sunday, but there was a very powerful moment for me when Jessie Buckley won the Oscar for Best Actress. For her work in Hamnet. At the end of her speech, she said, "I dedicate this Oscar to the beautiful chaos of a mother's heart." And that really hit me. And I'm sure it hit many mothers because at the core, we're all kind of going through the same thing. We're trying to be the best mom and best version of ourselves. And sometimes we stretch ourselves too thin in the process. It can feel chaotic, what's happening in our hearts and in our minds. But I guess that's what being a mother is all about. Many women grow up with the message that we're supposed to be strong for our family, strong for our children, strong for the people who rely on us. And yes, strength is obviously beautiful and it's wonderful, but somewhere along the way, I feel like the definition of strength got distorted. Sometimes we think that strength means doing everything on our own. Strength means never asking for help. Strength means pushing through the stress, the exhaustion, the emotional pain without talking about it. But the truth is, asking for help is not weakness, it is strength. Asking for help is not failure, it's brave. And admitting that something is hard does not make you less capable, it just makes you human. You can't possibly carry everything alone, and that's where community comes in. One of the reasons I'm so grateful for the work that I do is that I get to see the power of community firsthand. When community comes together, great things happen. The simple act of all of us sitting in this room like this, sharing our experiences, listening to each other, learning from one another, this is how strength grows. Not in isolation, not alone, but together. When a mother feels supported, her child benefits. When professionals feel supported, families receive the care that they deserve. When women support each other, communities become stronger and more resilient. That's the power of community, and every single person in this room has a part in that ripple effect. And strength doesn't have to be loud. It's not, look at me, I'm so strong. Some of the strongest moments in life are actually very silent. It's the young mother who wakes up again after a very hard day. It's the community worker who continues to care even when the work is emotionally and physically draining. It's the woman who reaches out and says, I need help. And it's the friend who says, I'm here for you. These are the moments that might not always be visible, but they're very powerful. So today, I hope that you leave recognizing your strength, recognize the courage that it takes to be a mother, recognize the strength that it takes to care for others while also caring for yourself, and most importantly, recognize that none of us, no matter who we are or where we come from, are meant to do this alone. To the women who work in community and social services and professionals who work with vulnerable families, we see you, we thank you for the love that you give to families and to your communities. And to the young mothers here today and to allies, thank you for showing up. I'll leave you with this quote. Strength grows in the moments you think you can't go on, but you keep going anyway. I look forward to hearing from some incredible voices here on stage with me today during our panel, where we'll just continue to have this conversation and continue to learn from each other. Thank you. Okay, now I'm here. Have to be passed around. Yeah. Okay, so Anitra, did you want to say anything prior, or do we?
Enjoy.
Okay, so we're just going to keep the conversation going. And, one of the parts of my speech I talked about, of course, was just about feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you have to have everything under control. You think you do until you don't, realizing you're probably stretching yourself too thin. So show of hands, how many of you have ever felt overwhelmed and didn't quite know why? Yeah. And how many of you have ever told someone, I'm fine, when you really weren't? And come on, I think everybody's hand's gonna go up now, right? We have all done it. All right, it's time to bring in our incredible panelists, women who are not only experts in their respective fields, but also some of the most empathetic, caring, and selfless women you will ever meet. So I'll leave you to introduce yourselves. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah, let's start here. We'll start here. Do you have the microphone? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Is it still morning? I think so.
I think so. Don't ask me.
I'm Dr. Mehta. I am a psychotherapist. I work in the public health care system. I specialize in couple and family therapy. I have a private practice as well. And so I am so honored to be here to talk about mental health and how important it is. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta.
Hi, I'm Kiana. I am the supervisor for the YMCA Back on Track program. I am also a part-time educator for Teen Haven, which is a group home here in Montreal. And I am also on the foundation board for the Elizabeth House. So I'm really excited to be here, and thank you, Anitra, for choosing me.
Thank you, Kiana.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jade. I work at O3 on our own, a transitional housing program for young parents. So I work with the resident mothers there. I also work in private practice in special care counseling, but I just like to think of myself as a person who comes out and tries to do my best to help others wherever you may be. that's me.
Thanks,
And she's not lying. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I'll introduce myself anyways. My name is Tamara Angeline Medford Williams. I wear many hats, but the one that I'm always proudest about is that I'm a helper, naturally by heart. I try to be unapologetically me in every space I go into. I don't code switch. I don't believe in that. But most importantly, I'm really big on using my Caribbean heritage, my experiences of gender-based violence to really pour into other people so that they too can believe that their pain can be turned into strength. Now to get into some hats. I'm a director at the Disabled Women's Network of Canada. I'm also a clinical educator at the amazing Maison Elizabeth House. I'm part-time faculty at Concordia, but I'm also a registered social worker in Ontario and Quebec, and trying to just navigate that in preventative care rather than being reactionary to the systems that continue to cause us harm. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Donc, je m'appelle Sari Capierre et je suis conseillère en relations d'aide. C'est la meilleure manière de résumer un peu tout ce que je fais. Donc, je suis coordonnatrice clinique pour une maison d'hébergement pour femmes violentées. Je suis également chargée de cours et superviseur de stage en éducation spécialisée et je fais également de la pratique privée. Je suis connectée au milieu communautaire depuis près de 20 ans et tout ce qui est soutien aux femmes, empowerment, c'est ma passion. Donc, c'est un plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui.
Merci, merci. I told you they were incredible. So I'm going to start with a question for all of you, and then, we'll just kind of see where it goes. Briefly share what you wish people knew about mental health struggles, because even with everything we know about mental health, it's still really hard for people to be open about how they're feeling. So what is something that you wish people understood about mental health? Anyone would like to start? Sarika, since you
Comme
have the
j'ai déjà le
microphone.
micro,
Allez-y.
je pense qu'une des choses qui est importante à réaliser, c'est que les enjeux de santé mentale qui se manifestent, en fait, sont des stratégies d'adaptation que les personnes adoptent pour faire face aux situations difficiles. Comme quand nous, après une journée exigeante au travail, comme vous l'avez mentionné, on peut prendre le temps de prendre un verre de vin pour décompresser. C'est notre stratégie à nous. Ces personnes-là ont développé des stratégies face aux situations difficiles qu'elles ont vécues et parfois, ces stratégies-là vont durer plus longtemps alors qu'elles ne sont plus nécessaires. Et c'est ce qui va causer de la détresse. Donc, on est tous, en fait, dans la même position, dans la mesure où on essaie de s'adapter à une réalité qui n'est pas toujours facile à affronter.
Well said, yeah.
We're going to pass it down this way.
Yeah, anybody who wants to
Yeah?
say something about it, go
Okay.
ahead.
So I think for me, in terms of mental health, what I wish people would understand more is that it looks very different to different cultures, to different people, to different ethnicities. That is why, we can't go off the DSM-5, that was used to research predominantly white male boys. And we have very different experiences when we interact with our culture and the systems around us that envelope us, that continue to oppress us. It's also important to note that per family, per experiences, where you come from, your country of origin, even if we look at the indigenous people here, to things that support their mental health is something as simple as knowing their mother tongue, something as simple of being able to partake in cultural practices. So I think it's important to realize that when we look at mental health healing, it's not a one-size-fits-all journey, and we should be patient and open to that fact because we all have our own trajectory when we heal, and I think by having that understanding, we can dismantle a lot of the stigma around mental health.
Well said. It's very multifaceted.
Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. If I can add, I would say something I would want people to know about mental health challenges. Sometimes we hear that and it sounds like a sickness, it sounds like something's wrong in your mind. And a lot of the time we're looking at symptoms. So for example, you're really stressed, you're super overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious. It's easy to label it as a mental health challenge. But we need to really look at what is coming before that. If you don't know where you're gonna live, certainly you'll be stressed. If there's not enough food in your home or you don't have enough money, these factors are things that are going to contribute to poor mental health. So whether we're the people experiencing it or the people helping people or just, whoever you're sitting beside wherever you go, I think it's important to be thinking of what do we need to be safe? What do we need to be okay before we worry about the label of a mental health challenge?
Good point.
Very
It's a
good
loaded
point.
term.
Very, very good point. I was kind of feeding off of both what everyone said already. It's just that individuality of everyone's experience. I know, speaking for myself, when I struggled with my mental health, it didn't look like the way my friends did. And it was really nice to have a great support system. So I think just understanding that everyone's path is their own path and that these things do take time and that it's okay to not be okay. And even better when you have great support. And I'm sure almost everyone in this room does. And if not, then I'm sure there are the proper resources that they can find to get that support.
I know how to top it when everyone else has already spoken.
Okay, we want to hear from you too, Dr. Mehta.
I think for me, when it comes to talking about mental health, what I wish people knew is that please talk about mental health, because we have to be our own best advocates. I think everything that falls after what Anitra and Laura said, that we think we need to do it all and do it all perfectly, and if it doesn't get done, we have somehow failed. And we don't talk about that implication. We have failed. And so that pressure that we put on ourselves absolutely impacts our mental health. And if we're not talking about it and we are struggling with our mental health, how on earth are we going to do all those things that we're supposed to do and execute them perfectly? So I think for me, the most important piece that I would like people to understand is that it's okay to talk about it. Please talk about it. And I love the distinction between mental illness and mental health. Feeling stressed, feeling anxious, feeling like you're overwhelmed is absolutely normal. And that I really want to underline that part as well.
I'm glad that we're normalizing that conversation. I want to talk about self-care because Sarika touched on this a little bit, talking about certain strategies, right, to help you cope. It's a term we hear over and over again, but it is truly, and I speak from experience, it's harder than it sounds. Or maybe we just have the wrong definition of what self-care means. So for a woman that is feels like self-care is just very hard to achieve, what would you ladies say? What is your definition of self-care? And what are some of the strategies or things that we can do?
La première chose que j'ai envie de dire, c'est qu'il y a déjà une différence entre le soin et la maintenance. Donc, souvent, on va confondre les deux. Donc, des éléments de base, s'assurer de se laver nos cheveux, s'habiller, s'assurer que nos vêtements soient propres. Donc, là, on va souvent confondre ça pour du self-care, mais pourtant, on parle uniquement de maintenance. C'est des éléments de base pour nous permettre de fonctionner dans notre quotidien. Donc, la réalité des femmes, c'est que parfois, juste être dans la maintenance, ça peut être difficile parce que nos rythmes de vie sont tellement occupés, parce qu'au niveau de notre santé mentale, ça peut être plus difficile de se mobiliser pour toutes sortes de raisons. Donc, avant même de parler de soins à soi, je pense que c'est important de faire place à la maintenance, puis d'accepter de parler de la réalité que parfois même ça, c'est difficile à atteindre. Donc, je dirais que des stratégies concrètes, c'est tellement unique à chaque personne que ça dépend vraiment de l'horaire que vous avez, de la réalité que vous avez. Je vous dirais un des défis que je rencontre souvent avec les femmes que je rencontre, c'est qu'on a l'impression qu'on n'a pas le droit d'avoir de temps libre dans notre horaire. C'est que dès qu'il y a un trou dans l'agenda, on a l'impression qu'il faut absolument qu'on doit le remplir avec quelque chose. Puis que si on n'a pas une bonne raison de dire « non, je ne suis pas disponible », il faut absolument qu'on fasse tout ce que les personnes autour de nous vont exiger de nous. Donc, je dirais qu'une bonne stratégie pour nous permettre d'être autant dans la maintenance qu'éventuellement dans le soin à soi, c'est de se donner le droit de dire non et de garder les trous dans notre horaire pour nous. Si j'ai 2 heures, c'est pas 2 heures que je dois absolument combler pour quelqu'un d'autre. C'est correct, c'est valide que je prenne ces 2 heures-là pour moi. Donc, ça serait ma première stratégie et je suis certaine que mes
I love
collègues en ont
that.
plusieurs
And
autres.
it's starting small. I mean, if I can get a shower with no interruption, that's self-care for me.
Oh, you're speaking English now.
That's a win. That's a win. Go ahead.
I'm going to paraphrase very lightly a quote by Audre Lorde, and it talks about self-preservation for us is a radical and political act, a self-care of self-preservation. And when I think of that, it makes me think of what I need to do for myself so that I could keep going instead of surviving, but thriving, right? Like she mentioned, blocking off time. You said it today. What don't I do, right? That's a little bit because I'm neurospicy, but me dealing with mental health challenges has opened up my my perspective on self-care to a different way. Why I'm like, yes, I'm hyper, but I'm able to care for myself by giving me downtimes. Sunday, even before work, sometimes I try to at least get an hour or 2 hours in. I have cutoff periods in the weekdays. I try to get my gym in regularly. I try to do things for myself that please me at my spiritual core. So sometimes, for me, I'm a very creative person. I come from a family of musicians and creatives. I'm a very spiritual person, and that might look different to different people. We all have things that connect us or ground us, and it's important to identify what that is. For me, it wasn't bubble baths. I'm just telling you. For me, it wasn't candles. It was sitting down by, René Lévesque Park, just listening to the water. It's swimming when I go to Barbados for 4 hours straight. It looks different to different people, right? So I think it's important to understand that caring for yourself also has to do with knowing yourself and trusting that you know the right thing to do.
You need to fill your cup before you can fill others.
Well, I am not very good at self-care. I'm
Me
just
neither.
gonna put that out there. But what I am really good at is community care. And so before I learned what works for me, which I figured out a little bit, I had to really lean on others. I was just telling Kiana earlier, I'm one of those booked and busy people that it's like, yeah, you want to see me, you got to catch me 4 weeks ahead because I already am booked for the next month. And, my husband will be like, don't you think that you should stay home? So sometimes it takes somebody else saying, hey, Jade, I noticed X, Y, Z. And because I believe they love me and because I believe they care for me, I can take what they're saying and go, okay, now what do I need to do because of this feedback that's coming to me? So I had to start with first listening to others, being willing to accept the opinions of others and feedback from others to integrate into my personal self-care. So if the tip I can give would be to listen to the people who care for you because they're looking out for your best interest.
I really liked that. So I'm the opposite. I love self-care. I'm just kidding.
Teach us.
I love self-care. What I will say is, yes, just going back to the maintenance versus self-care, like, yes, I do make sure that I do the certain things that I do like to do, whether it's getting my nails done, getting my hair done, any little thing, because for me, that makes me feel good. I have it's funny, one of my best friends is always like, why do you put on makeup every day? How do you have the time to do that? I'm like, because it makes me feel good. And sometimes I'm not going anywhere too crazy, or I'm not going out, Sometimes I'll do my makeup just because it makes me feel good. Sometimes even just to look into the mirror, sometimes even it's those positive affirmations that I do give myself. And I think it's just really important to establish a routine, which could be very, very hard at times. I actually talk about this with my mom a lot, who's here right now. She's not in the room, but I know she's here. Oh, she is there. Just establishing that little routine, whether it's making sure you get dressed every day. Little things that feel good for you that help you get through your day. And like we were all saying, self-care looks different for everybody. Yes, I have those moments where I just Go buy a candle at Winners. Everyone loves Winners. Everybody has to go to Winners. Oh, not everyone loves Winners, but even just browsing through Winners, doing little things that are self-care to you, whatever that looks like,
Yes.
and just not giving up on yourself and wanting to do those things. And
You spoke to me there because one afternoon my kids were at activities or whatnot, and I had a couple of hours to myself, and I looked at my husband and I said, could we go to Winners?
sometimes Winners cures everything sometimes.
And so we went to Winners, and I was so happy. Yeah, it's that simple. He thought he was going to be asked something else, but no, I just said, would you go to Winners? Yeah.
I think for me, self-care is really tied to self-respect and taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. But what I'm also very conscious of when I work with people is that it is very deeply linked sometimes to community and resources. And it does mean you need to stop something to change the focus. And not everybody has that luxury. And so to me, that's the most important part, is how can you be creative in the minutes that you might actually have? And to me, it's breathe. It's stop and just take a breath. And I'm a big believer in self-talk, maybe not out in public while you're alone on a bus, but talk to yourself, because your inner dialogue and how you speak to yourself and how you take stock of your strengths and your challenges is so important. And so for me, self-care, yes, it's a hugely internal process and it's a priority, but it's linked to community and it's linked to capacity. And I think that's what we need to help foster in others so they can create that opportunity.
I love this because I feel like I'm in my own therapy session right now. So this is something that I really want to talk about with you ladies, because I really struggle with mom guilt. And, you know, I've had comments like, oh, your kids won't remember if you went to that event or that work engagement. You know, don't be too hard on yourself. You're allowed to have a career. You're allowed to go out. And yes, all these things are true, but it's inevitable that I just feel that guilt because I feel like I shouldn't, you know, the time that I have away from work, that I should not be, that I should just be, you know, home with my kids. Like, what's your advice on just being too hard on yourself?
I go back to self-talk again.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and I'm a big believer in the gratitude exercise, I'm a big believer in going back and taking stock of your day and saying, what was the best part? Did I accomplish what I wanted to? And if part of that is, hey, I excelled at this thing that's important to me because it's my career, and I came home and I got to tuck my daughter in at night and she told me all about her day, even though it was very judgmental from what I hear about your daughter.
Yes.
But
She's going on 11, but like going on 14, 15. So it's, yeah. I thought the baby stage was hard. Wait till they're teenagers.
I remember reading this book for book club, Leaning In, where it talks about you can do everything. A successful woman can do everything. And boy, did I hate that book, because I think someone else said that you can't. Everything is about making a choice and prioritizing it and recognizing when you make these choices, there's a reason behind it, and it's tied to your values, your beliefs, and your identity, and that is absolutely okay.
Power in saying no. And like, it took me a long time to get to this point, to learn how to say no. Like, saying no is so hard to say, but then once you learn to say it, it's very liberating, because yes, it's about prioritizing what's important. Does anybody else want to say anything about mom guilt or not being too hard on yourself?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
just was, you know, if there was any advice for not being hard on yourself, but also like just about not stretching yourself too thin. And like Dr. Mehta said, like setting those boundaries and not feeling guilty about that either.
No, definitely. And I think that that's something that I struggled with at first. I wanted
Yeah.
to be everywhere and do everything, whether
Right.
it's with my friends or at work, pushing myself to almost too thin. And again, it's just that like self-talk, just reminding myself that I am doing okay. I do like a lot of check-ins with myself as well as with my mom. I do call her maybe about 3-4 times a day, just, you know, for us to check in. But those are important, those conversations. I think it's just that support and reminding myself that I am doing enough. And I have a really great friend group and a great support group. And I think that that is what helps push me through. And we all kind of lean on each other and balance on each other and let ourselves know that we are doing enough. So I think it's just, that's my one little piece of advice, is just going with what you feel, using that self-talk, having that good supportive friend group or women around you, whoever you feel trusted with. And yeah.
And well, go ahead, just
Yeah.
you have something you want to say?
I think a lot of us struggle with that, especially women who do multiple things, which is everybody. I think having compassion for self is big, and you know, it's something that it was very difficult for me, I would say. But what I used to work on this, I started like I'm big on. You don't want to see my calendar. I color code everything. It's like packed. Okay, I'll show you my phone. I also make daily agendas for myself, and sometimes there's like 15 things, but I tell myself, all I need to do is one. So, okay, get this, right? I have 15 things on my daily agenda, but so that I want to foster that compassion for myself, I give myself the opportunity to say, all I need to do is just one thing. And, you know, even when I embarked on my career, when I embarked on my academic journey, you know, studying and going to work, you need a lot of compassion for yourself to get things done. And then, you know, everyone would ask me, what do you want to do with your career? And I said, I just want to help one person. So you have to understand that we can't do everything, right? And it's okay. But we need to also know, what is that one thing that we can do that is easy for us to accomplish? Maybe a little baby step, right? That we will find success and gratitude and purpose in it, so that everything that we didn't get to do will not really, won't outweigh it. So for mothers, a lot of the families that I've worked with as well, that one thing could be having a family dinner. That one thing could be asking your son, how did your day go? Right? We have this big view of doing everything and anything, but what I would like everyone to think about, what is that one thing that you could do daily that would bring you joy and show you that compassion that you need to continue? And I think that's really important.
Love that. Self-compassion, compassion for yourself. I'm going to keep that in mind, Tamara. Thank you. Yeah.
Ben, en fait, je vais juste rebondir sur ce que mes chers panélistes ont dit. Dans la même idée de discours intérieur puis de compassion, souvent ce que je remarque, c'est que lorsqu'on prend l'histoire d'une personne et qu'on l'attribue à quelqu'un d'autre, donc si je raconte l'histoire d'une femme, c'est son histoire que je raconte, mais j'utilise le nom d'une autre personne, son discours par rapport à l'histoire va complètement changer. Donc, il va y avoir beaucoup plus d'empathie, de compassion qui va émerger dans le discours. Et parfois, je vais les surprendre en disant, mais je viens de raconter ton histoire. Alors, pourquoi ton discours, lorsque tu parles de toi-même, lorsque tu regardes ta perspective, est différente que si je transpose exactement la même situation sur une autre personne? Donc, parfois, ce qui peut être aidant, c'est tout simplement de se dire, qu'est-ce que je dirais à quelqu'un qui est à ma place en ce moment? Je lui dirais, ben, tu fais de ton mieux, essaie de faire juste une chose aujourd'hui, puis ça sera amplement suffisant. Puis tu n'as pas à te prouver à personne. Puis d'où viennent ces discours-là qui t'alimentent, qui te disent que c'est pas assez? Est-ce que ces discours-là viennent de personnes ou d'idées qui ont vraiment une valeur pour toi? Est-ce que c'est des personnes qui tiennent à toi qui te disent ça, ou c'est des personnes qui n'ont pas reconnu ta valeur par le passé, qui te font croire que c'est comme ça que tu devrais agir, que tu devrais être capable d'être parfaite puis de tout accomplir à l'intérieur d'une journée? Donc, de se ramener à ça pour justement pouvoir s'exprimer de la compassion pour soi et non pas juste pour les autres. Un peu comme l'idée de mettre le masque sur soi-même avant de le mettre sur d'autres personnes, de remplir sa coupe. C'est tellement important, mais on oublie tellement souvent de le faire. Puis je suis contente que des opportunités comme celle-ci se présentent pour qu'on puisse collectivement se rappeler. Parce que ce n'est pas juste nous qui vous disons comment faire, c'est un message à nous, ensemble, de se rappeler, de faire preuve de compassion envers soi-même.
And just going on that, I want to talk about, because it really does take a village. I mean, this is the village here today. Like, in tangible terms, how important would you ladies say is having a support system in building resilience as a mother and a woman? Yeah. Oh, I love. Okay. Okay.
I would love to chime in. I think, obviously, I work in community work,
Yeah.
and I've done that for my entire adult life. And like I told you before, community care is where I thrive. But it's because leaning on community quite literally saved my life. I had people when I was a teenager to plant a little seed in me to give me hope for one more day. Shout out to Kathy Roach, that saw something in me that said, your life is worth living. You can reach people, you can help people. You just deserve to be here. And sometimes those reminders are coming from other people. So I'm happy to pour in where other people can, receive from my energy and my love and my care. But I also am watered, I receive from other people too. And I think here in this Western world, you hear a lot of like, like you have to do this, and everyone's thinking that they're on their own. On our own. They're often thinking that they're on their own. And on our own, you're not alone. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. People are suffering, being in isolation, feeling lonely, just not having people that they can rely on. And it's not everyone you can rely on. That's true. But it's important to find the people who are willing to pour life into you and uplift you and just see value in you. I don't know. I don't think we could be okay without it, honestly.
Yeah. And it's like Tamara said, if you can help that one person, you've done your job.
And I think, props, but you know what you said. It's true, right? As community workers, community is a lot. And, we come from like collectivist societies, like cultures where your whole family, like 3 generations lived in one household, right? Or you have the elderly who get, the seniors in your family who get older, and then they come and move in with mommy or dad or something like that. So we tend to already come from cultures that, go against individualistic mentalities. But it's also important to know that you need to find your tribe, right? And not everybody that you have around you is beneficial to those goals you want to achieve, your mental health, your self-healing, right? We talk about having community a lot, but we forget that that also requires maintenance, that also requires sustainable actions, right? And it also requires discernment, right? A lot of the stuff that we see with youth who come from low-income neighborhoods, myself, my experiences growing up, the people who I surrounded myself with, my community did not help me, right? My community did not necessarily pour into me, right? I was in situations where I had to pull myself out on my own. But I think it's important when we speak of that we need to take the decisions to identify what do we really want? Where do we see ourselves going in the future? What do I need right now? And when I say find your tribe, my tribe turned out to be a professor at Concordia, right? Who did not look like me, did not share the same complexion as me, but saw that there was a need that I had, saw that there was a void in me. She poured into me and supported my whole academic journey, even when I wasn't at Concordia, right? She became my tribe. So it's important to know that your community doesn't have to be just people that look like you. It doesn't have to be members of your family. I know people say family over everything, but sometimes your family is the one that's also causing you harm. And it's important to have that fortitude within yourself to identify and discern what is really good for me. Is me talking to my cousin every day and prioritizing my cousin needs over mine or my children good for me? Is me going to chill with my friend all the time when all they want to do is smoke and drink? Is that good for me when I have goals? So I think that also consists of some of the things that we need to think about and keep at the forefront of our mind when we are searching for that community, when we are searching for that tribe. And also know that when you find your community, you don't have to agree with them 100% of the time, right? The point is to be with people who share same interests, common goals, and that you could find a support system within. But I think it's important to have that discernment to know what is what for you and for where you want to go.
Do you have any advice, any of you, if someone is sitting here and saying, but where do I go? Where do I start? Do you have any advice on how to sort of find that supportive network? What advice would you give?
I would start with myself, right? That's why I like the gym, because it's one of the few times that my mind is slowed down. And I get to think a lot, right? What do I really like? Because if we think about the culture we live in, the religion we decide to grow up in, the way we wear our clothes, the way we talk, a lot of it is learned behavior, right? We might have been a blank slate, but the minute your mom says, don't do this, do that, and you grow up honing these characteristics that your mom said, I'm learning to be like my mother. I'm learning to be like the people around me. So I think it's important to take time to know you at the core in the dark. Who are you? And asking yourself those uncomfortable questions so that you can know what you really want. I thought I was some other type of person a few years ago. Then I realized I like doing pottery. I just started that, right? I would never know if I didn't take the time to say, who are you? Do you just want to be at the forefront? No. I realized I was put at the forefront in a lot of stuff that I was doing because of other people and what they saw in me. But I like being behind the scenes. I like supporting people, walking side by side with them. I don't need to always be at the front to lead, right? So I think it's about going into that dark place, asking yourself some uncomfortable questions, and identifying who you are at your core without all the noise and distractions.
Donc, toujours en parallèle avec ce qui a été mentionné, je pense que justement de chercher à se connaître, savoir qui on est, quels sont nos intérêts, qu'est-ce qui nous fait vibrer, je pense que c'est un élément clé parce que parfois on peut avoir tendance à se dire « OK, je dois aller faire quelque chose de plus pour me créer une communauté. » Mais en fait, la communauté, on va la retrouver où? Ben, là où on est déjà, là où on se sent déjà bien, là où on a déjà un intérêt commun. Je pense à ma vie personnelle, les personnes qui sont les plus proches de moi, ben, c'est des personnes que j'ai rencontrées alors que je faisais des choses qui me faisaient plaisir, que ce soit d'aider au niveau communautaire, que ce soit d'être dans une chorale, puis de chanter. Donc, de trouver les espaces où il y a des personnes qui ont des réalités qui sont similaires à la nôtre, puis de créer des connexions là. On parlait de la question de la maternité. Ben, des fois, ça va juste être quand on va récupérer nos enfants après l'école, un petit regard qui dure un peu plus longtemps avec une maman, puis on établit une connexion, puis peut-être qu'il y a une belle amitié qui se cache là. Donc, c'est juste d'explorer, d'approfondir davantage les espaces qu'on occupe déjà. Ça peut déjà nous faire découvrir que la communauté est autour de nous, en fait. C'est juste qu'on n'a pas encore établi la connexion.
Go ahead.
I would just like to add a few questions based on what they shared that you can ask yourselves. Like when we're thinking about where am I already? If you're at the end of the day looking at your day, where did you go? Maybe you brought your kid to daycare. Maybe you had a class. Maybe you grabbed a coffee somewhere, whatever it might be. And just start to look at like, how do I feel in these places? Are there people there that I'm missing? Kind of like you mentioned. It may take a little bit of courage to maybe carry on a conversation a bit longer than you usually would, or say more than just hi and ask, how are you? But there's opportunity for connection, and for each one of us, it's different what makes you feel good. So maybe my community circles are not for you, but there's stuff out there for everyone. And I just want to say shout out to Black Girl Magic. Come see us afterwards. We're a community. And I think we make people feel very warm and welcome. But just, take a step out to explore what's there, and you'll be surprised what you might find.
Step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I just did want to mention, circling back to having that support group and support system. I am very lucky. A lot of my friends were all in the same field, so we kind of bounce ideas off of each other and we just support each other. And I love that I have some of my friends that I can just check in with if I am having a bad day. And whether what they have to say is something that I want to hear or something that I don't want to hear, I think that's what's really important too. And then just going back to, I'm still answering some of those questions. I'm still figuring out what my path is and where I'm going to end up. So it's okay if you don't know everything. I don't think we're supposed to know everything. So just keep that in mind when you feel like maybe you're not doing enough, that you are doing enough. And now you're just at this point where you're like, okay, what's next? So
if I remember the question, it was how important is social support? I mean, we've seen great personal examples and clinical examples about I'm an academic, so the research clearly shows that it is absolutely important, and social support and the connections that you have with community and family are directly linked to your mood, right? If we look at the statistics. The other thing is, as a family therapist, I'm a really big believer in chosen family, and I think that resonates a lot with what my co-panelists have been saying about community. But what that means is seeking out other people. It means being vulnerable. It means trying to make connections, and it also means letting down your own guard. It means being open to others approaching you and recognizing that there's a reciprocity in every relationship.
And I just want to piggyback on something Kiana said earlier, but I also would like, we'll start with you because I'd like to know your opinion from that academic perspective. She talked about the importance of having a routine, of having structure. I want to talk a little more about that. Why is that important? Is it important? And how do you sort of build that structure?
So I may not be the most popular answer, but structure is important for some people and absolutely doesn't work for others. So I just want to throw that out there. I see some people nodding. Again, it's very linked to personality type, lifestyle, what you do for a living, and what you choose for you. I'm a big believer in routine. I live by the agenda, and that helps me give myself some degree of control. For other people, it's not so straightforward. And
Is it something you can teach, or it just...
You could, if that's what works for the person. So I'm putting on my therapy hat right now, right? I'm putting on my therapy hat, and it's really, what would work for you? Would this set you up for failure if you cannot maintain this routine because there's so much going on in your life? What's realistic, and maybe you pick that one thing that works and you make sure it gets done every day, and the rest you kind of see if you have the coping capacity to do it. So it's a loaded question for me, but I do think that routine and structure can be very important because it can feed into a sense of purpose, and it can absolutely help in terms of a sense of control, and you can check off your accomplishments. At the same time, it can be very challenging for people who don't necessarily have community support, the capacity to have a predictable, beautiful day, that they can pick one or two things perhaps and set up structure around that. So I think there's a need to have an understanding that there needs to be that kind of flexibility for some people, and that we all cope very differently depending on what's going on with our lives.
Like what Tamara said earlier, right? It's checking, even if it's that one thing off your list of 15 things.
This is my one thing. This is my one thing. But just going back to routine, sometimes it's one of the things that I'm always doing, I do it every day, no matter what, is put on sunscreen, because I read somewhere that whether there's sun or not, you got to put the sunscreen on. So that's part of my routine. Something as little as that.
Protect your skin.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kiana.
Exactly. Drink your water, protect your skin. But just to say, it's something sometimes as small as that. Now, another thing I'm doing is olive oil and the lemon shot. And I'm like, I'm going to do that every day. So when I do it, I'm like, okay, that's my one thing that I for sure
Like the
did.
lemon water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just little things that you do that are part of the routine. Yes, some people have more intense routines where it's like, I get up, I do this. And then others, it's, I get up, I brush my teeth, and I ate something. And that's okay too. Routines look different for everybody.
That's important to say. Anybody else want to say something about structure, routine?
Yes. We know you like self-care, the lemon water, the UV and the creams. You know what type of girl she is. But I think also it's important to know that you could have routine without structure. Okay, I'm going to go there. Yeah, I'm going there. So like, for instance, if you say, I want to go to the gym 3 times a week, that's a routine. But then sometimes you go to the gym at 10 p.m. Sometimes you do it for an hour. Sometimes on certain days you do it for 2. Sometimes you just walk in and you just sit on the massage chair and you don't even work out. But that is your unstructured routine. I think we are so stuck on terminology that sometimes it ostracizes different experiences. And we have to understand that it looks different for different people. I will say that. A routine could be checking in on your friends. Maybe once a week. You don't have to have a set time. A routine could ensure that your child is getting their 3 meals a day, that their diapers are always changed, right? How you fit that into your schedule is how you fit that in. I think we get stuck on thinking that a routine has to be 8 a.m. I wake up and I brush my teeth. 10 p.m. I do the, it doesn't have to be as robotic because we're not robots. We interact with the world around us, with each other. We learn ourselves every day. We change. So it's important to understand that routine, yes, that one thing, but also it does not have to be fully structured. It could be saying, I'm gonna do a random activity once a month. You don't know what that activity is, but you're making a decision for yourself to do something that will bring you joy, or even that will, like you mentioned, to help with the maintenance, right?
Right.
Routine is, I can't go a month without washing my locks. I don't know when that day will happen, and I dread it every time it happens. But I know that that's something that I have to do for me because I want to feel good about myself. So as mentioned, we tend to look at words and have terminologies and, don't leave much room for ambiguity, but it's important to know that we're all different and it looks different. So unstructured routine, I'll go for all the time.
I learned something new. Unstructured routine. Thank you for that. That like makes me breathe a little easier now. Thank
Et
you.
c'est tellement un concept intéressant, justement, parce que avec toute l'exposition qu'on a aux médias sociaux, on a l'impression qu'une routine, c'est un peu comme tu as dit. OK, je me lève à 5 heures du matin, et puis là, j'ai ma belle bouteille Stanley rose que je remplis avec de la glace, puis je m'en vais. Non, mon Dieu, la mienne est noire. Mais on a l'impression que c'est ça. Il faut que tout soit beau, tout soit esthétique. On se lève vraiment tôt le matin. On accomplit plein de choses. Avant 10 heures, on est hyper efficace. Alors que, ultimement, est-ce que ça fonctionne pour tout le monde de se réveiller à 5 heures du matin? Il y a des personnes qui sont lève tard et c'est correct de se lever tard. Il y en a que notre cerveau commence à fonctionner à 16h30. Moi, j'ai beau avoir une tâche à accomplir, je vais la repousser, je vais procrastiner jusqu'à 16h30 et là, pouf, j'ai l'énergie, j'ai des idées, j'ai de la créativité et c'est là que ça se passe. Donc l'idée, c'est oui d'établir une routine, mais une routine, c'est pas une structure qui est organisée d'une manière extérieure à nous. Une routine, c'est qu'est-ce qui favorise notre fonctionnement optimal dans notre quotidien. Et comme vous l'avez si bien dit, d'une personne à l'autre, ça va être différent. Donc, l'exercice, c'est pas juste de prendre un modèle qui existe déjà, mais c'est de prendre le temps de s'asseoir, de se connaître, puis de déterminer qu'est-ce qui fonctionne pour moi et qu'est-ce qui fait que je suis satisfaite de ma journée. Donc, quand j'ai réussi à faire ça et ça, quand je me suis levée à telle heure, je me suis sentie plus énergique. Donc, à partir de ces éléments-là, lorsqu'on se connaît bien, on est capable d'établir une routine qui permet que notre fonctionnement soit optimal.
Okay, we're going to almost get to questions because maybe some of you have questions, but just from everything we discussed today, like from mental health, self-care, community support, if there's one thing that you want every young mother in this room to leave with today, to remember today and every day after that, what would it be?
Faites-vous grâce. Donnez-vous une chance. De la même manière que vous êtes capable d'être hyper empathique, généreuse avec les personnes autour de vous, accordez-vous ça au moins une fois par jour.
Love that. Merci.
My new thing right now is self-respect. So I think I passed the self-love thing. Like it looks very different. I'm trying to walk in self-respect. And I think that's important because when our mental health is, impacted, we tend to forget to respect ourselves. And that shows up as love too, but it can show up as discipline. It could show up as showing up for your community, right? It shows up at different things. So I think self-respect is equally important to our journey.
Well said. And it goes hand in hand with the compassion for self that you said earlier.
My thought that I'll share is not necessarily from our conversation today, but at work on Monday, I got to host a workshop with some of our residents, and we were just talking about some of the invisible load that comes with being a young mother as well as a single mother. And these labels sometimes, I think we just need to just refer to them as parents. But there was a conversation that started around feeling like their situation was their fault. Like my choices led to this outcome, and now I'm living the consequences of my actions. And I just thought that meant that they're carrying shame to some degree. And I just think like you could put shame down, the circumstances that led to where you are. If there are people around you who make it sound like a negative thing, that's their business. That's their problem. You can choose to start to like reframe how you see yourself as a powerful person who decided to bring life into this world. And I mean, I heard a little baby somewhere earlier, and that feeling you get when you hear little baby, oh, they bring joy and love and light. And so if you're a young parent or a parent in general, you've done that. So you can put the shame down.
Put it down. Yes.
Mine is very short and sweet, but it's just to say that you are enough and that you are doing enough. And just remember that. Repeat that to yourself in the moments that you're not feeling so great. Repeat it in the moments when you are
Let's
doing
say
enough.
together, I am enough.
I am enough.
You stole mine. But that's the problem with being at the end of the line. That was going to be mine. Similar on the same theme, I think, recognize you have a light in you and that it is worth sharing. Because we forget that sometimes. And tied into what others have said, don't let others dim that light. You have it. It's yours. Share it and be proud of it.
I love that. I think safe to say we all took away something from today, did we not? I mean, thank you so much. I think that my cup is definitely filled. So thank you very much. I needed this therapy session. So thank you, ladies. This was great. Thank you so much. I think that Anitra's going to, okay, Anitra, take it away. Thank you.
I don't want you to be late for
Yes,
your
thank you.
on air. So please hold.
Please hold.
We're doing things backwards, but it's okay. These discussions are not always easy to have. And we're incredibly grateful for your openness, your honesty, and your willingness to share your experiences with us all today. And Laura, thank you for guiding the conversation so beautifully and for spending time with us this morning. She's going to run, so we're going to give you a little gift.
Thank you
bag.
so much. Thank
We
you
like
for
swag
having
bags.
me. Thank you so much.
And Amanda made it. Amanda actually made it. So this is Amanda from O3, if you don't already know her. And well, yeah, just because, see Pierre over here. And then, oh, for crying out loud, all right, let's stand up. Thank you so much, Laura. Don't worry, you guys get gifts too. Okay, because Laura's leaving and she's getting herself organized and whatever. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. All right, we're going to move into a really fun part of the day. Christina, you are going to get a microphone because I know how much you're going to love this. Christina is going to come up because she's the tallest person. Christina, you love me. Okay, this is going to be the best part of the day. I don't need a microphone. You've got all these amazing people. Fire. There you go, Christina. You can ask your question to one person, or you can ask. I would ask you, don't ask. I have to talk into the microphone for the people who are online. You can ask your question to one person or to the panel. I would say that we have about 15 minutes, so don't make it a 300-minute question. Yes, ma'am.
Did I stand? Hi, I'm Devon. I'm here supporting Jade. Fantastic to all of you women. You guys are amazing. I just want to say, beautiful. Everything I'm going to take from each of you, I've learned something amazing today. But the part that stood out for me was the shame. Okay? And the titles that we give ourselves. I have openly started to say that I'm the custodial parent of my daughter and not a single mother because it has such a terrible ring to it. Yeah. So I have a history of working in the community and whatever have you, but now I'm on the other side of receiving from the community. And I've learned from my cultural heritage. My mother's father comes from Barbados, so shout out to that. I had to say it. But I am taught, or we are taught, that when we're going through something, we can't look like what we're going through. And so that part about shame and putting it down and all that stuff, I had a question as to what you might say to that as like, don't look like what you're going through. Yeah.
I just want to start quickly by looking at shame. I do a lot of trauma work, and there's this distinction between guilt and shame, right? And guilt is, I did something, I don't feel so great about it, but I can fix it and I can change it. So I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad. And I think that is such an important distinction to make, because if it's shame, it's you have self-identified as bad. And I think that's often where the conversations start is, let's look at how you're actually defining it. And let's look at where those feelings are coming from. Because you can't hear me. Can everyone hear me now? Sorry. So we can only change behavior if we can change feelings and thoughts. We don't behave without thoughts and feelings. I guess I go back to the classic, cognitive behavioral therapy. So for behavior to change, it's in how we think about ourselves and it's in how we feel about ourselves. So that label is so dangerous, the shame piece, and so that conversation around it is really important. So I wanted to put that out there, the distinction between guilt and shame.
I wanted to say something that my Caribbean parents may not love. I don't know how many folks are from the Caribbean, but my mom used to say, make sure you put on good pants so if you drop down to hospital. Like, I have yet to drop down to hospital and they're taking off my pants. Please, God. But, sorry, shout out to my mom. But for me, honestly, guys, I be looking like what I'm going through, because I don't want anybody to be standing at my funeral saying, we had no idea, we didn't know. No, we're not gonna know. Yeah. You're gonna know. And you're gonna say, Jade, you're not looking like your usual self. Are you okay? And that's my opportunity to say, no, I saw everything mash up, I'm not okay. So I would just say, it's okay to not look okay sometimes, Sometimes that's an indicator that something else is going on. And if you hide it really well, no one may notice, And I want my pain to be noticed if I'm going through it.
Yeah, no, she's 100% right. And for me, it's a little different experience, because throughout my life, I've been constantly told you do not look like what you went through at all. But that goes back to my upbringing, Bayesian, also living with my grandparents, church, you know what I'm saying? You put on your Sunday best 24/7, But I think it's important with the shame thing. Like someone earlier talked about the chaos, right? I'm at peace with the chaos. So I would have shameful thoughts. I'm like, oh, you are this, you did this. But then again, girl, you know what I mean? You are doing this and you are this. So for every negative thought, like I kind of did a little CBT to myself, for a lot of the negative thoughts and feelings that I would have, because with my mental health challenges, it's like sometimes I could just think things and I would have very strong emotions, and there needs to be not necessarily a big trigger. I will still have a physiological reaction to those thoughts. So what I was doing to myself was, for every shameful thought, every inch of guilt that might creep into my thoughts, I try to counteract it with something positive, right? And that's why it goes back also to community and the people around you. People saw something in me that I did not see in myself. That's the only reason why I'm here today, right? I did not see anything in myself. I took all the negative that the world reflected into me, and it became my identity, right? So I lived a very different life before, and I kind of owned that identity. I didn't just felt shame. I was walking shame, but I was walking shame with my head high. So it was a complete contradiction, okay? But it was people who saw things in me and that they were able to speak life into me, that now I could use that vocabulary to speak life into myself. So when the negative comes in my head, I have a blueprint now on what to think and what to say, how the positive that other people view me, and all the great things that they will say, the great characteristics. I now use that to contradict the negative, shameful feelings that might arise.
Ça me fait penser un peu à ce qu'on a abordé un peu plus tôt sur le type de discours qu'on va avoir, puis de penser à la provenance de ce discours-là. Parce que souvent, la honte qu'on va internaliser, ça ne vient pas de nous. C'est le message que d'autres personnes vont nous avoir communiqué verbalement ou simplement par un regard, par une attitude. Puis, dans mon accompagnement auprès des femmes, j'aime leur dire que... En fait, dans mon bureau, j'ai un tableau et c'est une grande plume. Puis pour moi, c'est symbolique, ça représente ce qu'on fait comme travail d'accompagnement. Et je leur dis souvent, il n'est jamais trop tard pour réécrire ton histoire. C'est que peu importe comment les gens ont raconté ce qui vous est arrivé, aujourd'hui, vous avez encore l'opportunité de réécrire cette histoire-là puis de la nommer autrement. Puis j'aime beaucoup ce que vous avez dit, Christina, par rapport à, justement, identifier différemment le rôle que vous avez auprès de votre enfant puis votre réalité. Ça a été votre manière à vous de réécrire votre histoire. Et ça, je pense que ça fait partie du processus pour se détacher de la honte et de se ramener à qui on est vraiment et qui on veut être, comment on veut s'identifier dans le monde. Parce que la honte, justement, c'est associé au fait de ne pas se sentir comme étant assez ou se sentir comme étant tout simplement pas bonne, mauvaise. Et de se réapproprier notre histoire, ben, c'est de dire non, ça ne sera pas ça mon identité. C'est pas comme ça que je veux naviguer le monde qui m'entoure. C'est pas comme ça que je veux naviguer mon rôle de mère. C'est pas comme ça que je veux naviguer mes relations avec les gens qui m'entourent. Je peux me baser sur, oui, ce que les gens m'ont reflété, mais aussi sur ce que moi, je comprends de moi et exister différemment. Voilà.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, okay. My name's Eureka, and my question is about balancing out self-care and other responsibilities. So during this year, I've been like managing a couple of hats, like being a grad student, being an intern at O3 with my wonderful supervisor, Jade. So shout out to Jade. And also working with Youth Protection Services. So my question is how to not only notice, it has layers, but how to not only notice when self-care becomes avoidance, and how to deal with the guilt of actually taking care of yourself when you know you have other responsibilities to fulfill. So yeah.
We could tell you studied well, okay? I'm just saying. Who wants to go? You have the mic. Yeah? I'll let you go first since you're a supervisor.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm not sure I caught all the layers, but I'll start with the last piece. I was going to say first, but maybe only the last piece. I think we hear this so often that you can't pour from an empty cup. Okay, you can. You can just keep going and going and going until you crash and burn. But maybe my story of my life too. But you can also like fill as you empty, you know? You may need to look at your day and be like, okay, I know what I'm giving out today, so where's my opportunity to pour back into myself? And you can have that in rhythms like Tamara was describing earlier, the unstructured routine. For me, I know Monday to Friday, I give. Those are my giving days. Saturday and Sunday, serve me, you know? And so it's a balance, and it's not always a perfect balance, but it's important to do both. And I don't think you should feel guilty about that, because it's like, if you're not okay enough to do what's important to you, your work, your school, etc., then you lose the joy of doing what you like to do because you're not even in a place that's good enough to do it. So I would look at it like maintenance, like we spoke about earlier, of just how do you keep things flowing in such a way that you can still do what brings you joy. Yeah.
Max, hi. I feel like I'm at a wedding with the owner of the silver Toyota Matrix. Please move your car. You are blocking Laura in, and she is going to be late to the arrival of her radio show, Josephina.
I see you, Joe.
Scandalous. Okay, now we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add
to the avoidance part, right? That's okay. The fact that you're able to recognize it and name it, chef's kiss. Because I find the issue really lies when it's not named, it's not recognized, and you're not aware of it, right? So you need, like, that goes back to the compassion part. Be compassionate with yourself, right? You're able to identify that there's something that you're not doing. Like me, like I said, I made one with the chaos. So I know right away how my place and my house looks like. I'm neglecting something. But do I make it stress me to the point that I become, fixated on it and that it impacts the other aspects of my life? No, I'm patient with myself, and I said, okay, I've let this part of my life go because of picking up other hats. Now I'm gonna switch that around. I'm gonna lay down those hats, I'm gonna lay down those mantles so I could pick back up what I've identified that I've been avoiding. It's all like a beautiful dance, and I think we put a lot of pressure on us to do everything all at the same time. God didn't even create the earth all at the same time, baby. And you're gonna talk about you doing all these things all at the same time. We have God in us, I believe that, but we are human still at the same time. So I think be compassionate with the fact that you are aware, because it takes a lot to get to that place. Then from there, you're able to identify what you can course correct to get the outcome that you desire.
Hi, my name is Shelley. I'm a presenter here later on this afternoon in the mindfulness area. So I heard you talk about self-love and I heard you talk about self-respect, but how about trusting ourselves? I think we have a sixth sense as women that we really aren't raised to lean into. And I think that when we can get quiet enough, even for a moment, and ask ourselves, what do I truly believe is the best thing for me to do in this moment? I think that we have an opportunity to really dig in to our own knowing that lives in us all the time. And I think that there's a place for that, for us to explore. Yeah. And I'd appreciate any comments on that.
Oh, there we are. She wants a comment. Yeah.
I know Wanda had a question. Who's Wanda? Wanda right there.
Pendant qu'on se rend à la prochaine question, je vais juste rebondir là-dessus parce que c'est vrai que c'est tellement important. Puis moi, personnellement, il a fallu que je fasse l'exercice de me dire, Sarika, suis ta première intuition. Il a fallu que je me le dise parce que c'est arrivé plusieurs fois que j'ai une pensée qui me vient à l'esprit, puis t'exagères, oh mais non. Puis finalement, la situation se passe, puis je fais, j'aurais dû. Donc, c'est rendu pour moi un exercice mental. À chaque fois que j'ai une pensée qui me vient à l'esprit, une intuition comme ça, ma réponse automatique, c'est « Hey, tu vas suivre cette intuition-là. Tu vas le faire. Tu vas le faire parce que tu ne veux pas regretter plus tard. » Et à chaque fois que j'ai cette pensée-là, que je respecte, je me respecte là-dedans et que je fais ou que je ne fais pas la chose en question et que je me rends compte que j'avais raison, c'est tellement satisfaisant. Oui, c'est magique. Donc, effectivement, je suis 100% d'accord avec ce que vous avez apporté. On a cet instinct-là, donc utilisons-le. Quand on a cette poussée-là qui nous vient, il faut qu'on soit capable de se faire confiance aussi parce que vous l'avez expérimenté le nombre de fois où vous vous êtes dit, ben justement, passons de l'autre bord où on peut faire « ah, je savais, je l'avais, je l'ai pressenti, puis je me suis écoutée, je me suis respectée là-dedans. » Donc, merci beaucoup.
Just to quickly add on that, when I said self-respect, listen, I just came out of a long-term relationship, putting my business on blast. But the reason why I was so happy when it ended, because when it started, I didn't listen to that feeling. Do you understand me? So you're talking right to me, baby. I didn't listen to that feeling. So for me, self-respect means, like you're saying, listen to that feeling the first time, trusting what you identify and see in people the first time. We don't need, I think at my age right now, I'm too old right now to deal with all the chances. We know internally in us what is right, and I think that's a part of self-respect. So thank you for mentioning that.
Nothing to add. Okay, yeah.
Well, first my name's Wanda Kagan. I want to thank you ladies, like your stories and sharing your own journeys and making, like Dr. Mehta said, talk about it, because talking about it, as I just told Laura, even for me coming here today, it's therapy, especially when you're like in the public eye and you have to share what you've been going through. It's very, very difficult. But talking about it really, really helps. It helps the journey, because the shame never goes away. As I try to tell people, it's never a one and done. And recognizing actually that you're going through another mental crisis and being able to face that, and that brings me to my question, is being able to know what is the difference between going through just some self-care that can bring you through those dark times, or it's time for intervention, real intervention, hospital intervention.
I'll pass it on to the psychotherapist.
Yeah,
after.
a doctor's intervention, because the shame comes back. The shame never goes away. And as you've all up there talked about, the self-care is really, really important. But there becomes a fine line between being able to recognize when it's just self-care and when it's time to seek some professional help.
Yeah. So when I found my tribe, it was one of my doctors in Concordia who taught mental health who said, you have a mental health challenge.
Yeah.
Right? I was doing the self-care. I was doing the maintenance, right? But because it was ongoing, right? It's something that persisted months, days, years, right? For me, that was I didn't realize it on my own. I was still trying to do what I was trying to do, but it took someone else to say, hey, this has been a persistent issue that you've been dealing with, and I'm only seeing you for a semester so far, and I can see that this is something that you're struggling with. I think you should seek professional help, right? And then it made me think about a lot of other stuff in my life that I've been holding on to, that I've been carrying with me, despite the maintenance, despite the self-care, that continue to trigger me, that continue to persist even as my life changed, even as my life got better. I'm safe now. Why do I still feel like I'm scared? Why do I still feel like I'm in survival mode, right? When the surroundings of my life and my experiences got better, but then internally I was still in that place of harm, of trauma, that's when I realized, okay, this needs additional help. This needs additional support that a bubble bath can't do, that sitting in the water for 4 hours can't do, right? So I think that's what it was for me.
I think it ties back to that know yourself, trust yourself. When you don't feel like yourself, that's a big red flag. And we also tie, when we look at, I'm going to the diagnostic piece because you're asking what's the difference between just that normal everyday blah and yuck and I need help. We look at functioning. Am I able to function and do the things that I like? Am I getting through my day? And the number one indicator for depression is, can I still feel pleasure? That's the question I ask. Can you still feel pleasure in your day-to-day and things that used to give you pleasure? If you cannot, then something is definitely shifting inside you where you're losing that light that we talked about earlier. So for me, that would be a really important indicator. If you can ask yourself, am I still able to feel joy and connection and happy? If not, then that is a good time to kind of say, maybe I need to speak to somebody or maybe I need some help. And the other piece I think someone else mentioned is sometimes, even though we're supposed to know ourselves best, and I'm saying recognize when things are shifting, it might take somebody else to look at you and to say, I don't think everything is okay. How are you? And that also is a red flag. So trust yourself, but trust your community and your chosen family as well.
I'd love to just add also that, seeking professional help can look like more than one thing. I think we hear about mental health help and we just imagine a therapy office. And that's very good and useful, and I love my therapist, shout out to Wayne. But there is like a spectrum of ways that we can care for ourselves, whether it's self-care, community care. I had the privilege of going to a conference a couple weeks ago where, there was music, there was food, there was dance, there was massage, there was tarot reading, there was there was prayer, there was worship. There were all of these things that just felt good to be a part of. And they're not all things that I'm going to take back and do in my own mental health care and practice, but I think there's something for everyone. So I think if you have the curiosity of like, what could professional help look like? What possibilities exist for my mental health care? That may be a good sign that you're ready to step into more than your self-care. And you just don't know what you'll discover on the other side of it. It could be a sound bath and meditation, and these things are healing as well. And I think they go really well hand in hand with the psychotherapy. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that was the last question because I think it ended things very nicely. But there's also a whole lot of day left, which I'm so excited about. Okay, housekeeping, one moment. We're going to transition into the next part of the day, which is lunch, which is going to be in the room over there. If you're on your way out the door because you can't stay, that's okay. But make sure you see Joanne and Leslie, raise your hands, at the table in the back because we have goodie bags. We're going to break for lunch. After lunch, we're going to ask you to participate in some interactive workshops. These workshops are designed to provide practical, tangible tools that you can use to support your mental health and well-being. We have several workshops stations available today, including a self-care menu with Tatiana and Eureka from O3. Yay! We have an art corner with Billy Levesque. We have, and I am sorry if I'm saying the same one twice, but I was told to say that we have a calm corner and an art space in the basement. We also have Black Girl Magic Canada with Jade. We have practical tools for managing stress with Shelley. And we have the ruler approach and mood meter with Jackie. So there's all sorts of different things that are going to be coming up. Please hold one more thing, because I love prizes and I love giving away stuff, and that's my love language. We're going to have a little fun. When you came in today, you received a raffle ticket. It should be green. You don't have to give it down. Just hold on to it. I got more. And Tina, no cheating. Okay, so for every workshop that you go to, you are getting a better chance of winning another prize because we have many prizes. But yeah, so the more you go to, the more raffle tickets you get, the more chances you have to win. So hold on to your raffle tickets. We'll meet you back here at 2 o'clock for all the ridiculous prizes we have put together. I do want to quickly say before we break, I want to take a moment to thank the people who helped make today possible because, yeah, this doesn't just happen overnight, by the way. Panelists and Laura, who's not here anymore, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There are not enough words. For my team, I've got Nick's, your incredible attention to detail and for making this event actually happen. Rock star. And a special shout out to Joanne for driving around Montreal picking up books and plants for the last 10 days. The team at Women on the Rise and O3 for their work in helping to organize us. I do want to take a moment and thank our generous supporters, the Butel Goodman Foundation and the Gloria Bayless Foundation for their financial support for our mental health programs and initiatives. Hugely, hugely important piece. And without giving away too much about what's in your gift bags, I want to thank La Vie en Rose, Flora Exotica, Encore Books, Librairie Bertrand, and Librairie Gallimard for their support for our goodie bags. There are QR codes somewhere, I think, or maybe there will be QR codes at some point today. It is a QR code to fill out our survey about today's event. It is an opportunity, it's literally like 2-3 minutes tops. Scan the code, give us your feedback on the event. Even if you have to leave early, your feedback helps us continue improving and creating meaningful events like this. So tell us what you want, and we will bring it to you next year. Because your voice and your perspective matters. We are doing this for you. Final thoughts. Let's enjoy the day. Let's connect with each other and then explore our workshops. I'll give you a 5-minute warning so that you can finish the last slice of pizza or whatever food you're eating. And then you'll go to your little stations, and then you'll come back here for ridiculous 2 o'clock draw. Pardon? 12:30. So you have 30 minutes-ish. Eat fast. No wasting. And before you guys...
Everyone still stay in your seats, please. No. Everyone, if you could still stay in your seats, please. Can Nix come up? And Anitra, please come up on the stage. I want to thank you all for being here. It's amazing to be in community and unity. I have to say that I have a pleasure and honor, as always, to work with amazing community people, community partners, and working with these people are just brought so much life. And you're talking about crying, I will cry. So for our thank you, we want to present you. They're rock stars, and thank you to the panelists. You know I got so much love for y'all. Oh my gosh. And thank you for everyone for being here, and ooh, amazing, chills.